So, hey Randall, how's it going today?
Fantastic. Thanks. How are you doing?
Good, pretty good. Good to be chatting with you again about C4Me. Uh,
Super excited.
after just to think last time I was at Tribeca, so been a little while.
Been a little while. We've films traveled a little bit, but now it's making its way out to the wider audience.
Very exciting, very exciting. Now,
Yeah.
I'd love to start by just asking, at what point of the production did you come on board C4Me?
At what point in the production? I mean, I came on when we had a script, and that was it. So at the
Okay.
beginning, I guess depending on what you mean by production, do you mean like in terms of development? You mean in terms of
Yeah, like were you like so, or were you kind of like helping in development? Because I just remember Skyler saying that the script was ready for a couple years before you actually found Sophie.
um Well, no, I think so. The script had been in development for a few years. Yeah,
Okay.
so Skyler came on very late. I came on late. I mean, a lot of work had gone into the script before I was lucky enough to read it. So I think they'd been developing it, yeah, for a couple of years. I think initially, Adam York, one of the writers, had along with Tommy Gucci, had heard of this app, and I think he had signed up to volunteer for one of these apps that provides assistance. Hooks up somebody who's visually impaired with um, a volunteer to help them with different tasks day to day. Whatever the request might be, and so he had sort of started thinking about those elements of assistance and teamwork and vulnerability and autonomy and what could happen in one of these what if worst case scenarios. um, and so yeah, so I think that they were developing a version of the script for a couple of years and just building it, making it better. And then um, yeah, I was lucky enough to read it, and I was really taken by it. And so then I got involved, and we were searching for, obviously, for all of the major elements. The most important of which was our lead, Sophie, and who we ended up finding Skyler Davenport, who's just so talented and who did such an incredible job.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you know if the character of Sophie changed a lot when Skyler was brought on board?
Um, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was looking for, you're always looking for that spark. The script, plot wise and twists and turns wise, was so well drawn, and there's a lot of really wonderful elements, including the element of representation of this differently abled character, and including the element of some of her complexities, uh, you know and her evolutions during the course of the evening, I'll say. Um, but of course, Skylar, who is legally blind, was able to bring, and was very generous in terms of the collaboration, in terms of bringing their lived experience, losing vision in their teens, and talking about that as it relates to Sophie's experience in the film. In the time that we meet her, Sophie has recently gone through this vision loss, or has gone through in the last couple of years. And so we had a lot of conversations about those moments and the different exchanges that Sophie has as she's learning about her sense of independence and autonomy, and sort of resisting uh, 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 a lot of help from a lot of different directions, and feeling that anger, and feeling that um, yeah, that wanting to act out against some of those circumstances. So I mean, a lot of really generous, wonderful conversations with Skylar, on top of the character development and the general sort of like evolving and sort of really getting a sense and the handle of the character as they move through the story. And then this other layer of physicality, and how Sophie moves through the house, moves through the world, things that they experience, during the course of the evening, but just in general, how somebody who is visually impaired interacts with their environment, and that was so much fun, and such an added layer of, I think, complexity and authenticity, but also that just, I think it makes the film more watchable, and it makes it more entertaining, and it makes it more interesting for me.
Okay, great. Now, I think it's interesting just with like how long it would take someone who is blind trying to like get used to their new environment with both the character of Sophie, and I feel like that would be an interesting challenge for Skyler as well. Can you speak to that aspect of the film and the project, if that was a challenge?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was reminded recently when chatting with Skylar that we didn't really do much of a tour of the house before we started shooting there. Obviously, we would rehearse and block all of our scenes as we were going through that. But what was interesting was Skylar was discovering a lot of those environments as we were shooting there, and so we were just speaking about how the house kept getting bigger, and we kept finding these different halls and these different spaces that the story spills over into. And so there was a lot of authenticity there in terms of discovering the space and figuring out how to move through it as we were evolving the story and shooting the story. And like I say, it made for some really interesting collaborative conversations about what that would look like, and then we had the fun of trying to represent that cinematically, right? Like how Sophie would be experiencing the world.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, my bad. I always put it on silent. The one day I don't, sorry about that.
Not at all. Don't worry, man.
I think going from that, did you guys have a favorite like room to shoot in, and did you have a favorite room in general?
Well, I loved so much of the house, and do we have a favorite? I think maybe the solarium, if you remember. So
Yes.
it's sort of like, quite a bit takes place in there. I think that was one of the funnest places to shoot, but the house itself was just a joy to shoot in because it was such a unique layout, and that's the reason that we selected it. But it, like, every room was unique, and every hallway, and it was all kind of custom, and it was very long and really angular and really interesting. So it's a cliche to say that it's a character in the film, but it really is. In a lot of the way that we shot some of those sequences was a response to this wonderful layout that the house had. So a lot of it was really fun, and we had the way I think of it is this incredible plot that was set up by the writers, and then we had to sort of like fit it into this house and where each twist and turn was going to happen. And so there was definitely an evolution that happened. And so this is after and while working with Skylar to evolve the character in the way that Sophie would move through the house, and then also working with the writers to kind of paint those twists and turns into this very unique, twisty, turny mansion, in the dark. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Now, you found the house in Caledon, Ontario. So I'd be curious just to ask, like obviously the house is isolated, but in real life, how close is the closest neighbor?
In real life, pretty far.
Okay.
Pretty far. Yeah. It's a drive, not a walk.
Okay.
It's it's far. It's certainly not like any place that I've lived, but it's pretty far. Like, you can't see any neighbors for sure. And then I'm just trying to think of how long you would have to drive. Like, it's a hefty drive, not like an hour, but it's a drive.
Okay. So realistic in that way.
Yeah, I think if you had to walk, you'd be in trouble in the winter. it would be worrisome. Put it
Okay.
that way.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I ask very much because you guys have a lot of night shoots. I expect you were probably making a lot of noise. Maybe.
Yes, we were. A lot of noise, a lot of people. Um, um, yeah, but when you're doing that kind of thing, you're like a weird little village that operates at night for a certain period of time. So it yeah, also a lot of fun. But we didn't get in this case. Yeah, we were able to take over the house, and we didn't get in trouble from any neighbors for making noise. So that was one good thing, because night shoots can be challenging in that way sometimes, for sure.
Good. Now, that was a really random question, and I have one other really random question. That strategy in the film of shimmying the glass door to get it open if there's nothing blocking it, does that actually work?
I am legally obligated to say that that is a fictional technique that was invented out of thin air,
Okay, because I was
and
gonna
nobody should ever try to break into a house using that technique.
I was gonna ask, like, if someone actually did like get into a house using that, like, are you guys liable?
Well, I guess we'll find out. And no, it's a yeah, no, it's a mostly fictional technique.
Okay, fair enough. I'm kind of just
Yeah.
thinking of that TikTok trend, like, oh, like I know this because TikTok taught me.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
Yeah,
C
that's a good
C for
one.
me, C for me taught me.
No, it's not. It's a movie version of. I'm sure there's techniques out there, but no, it's a movie version based on sort of like what we had there and what we could shoot. But it's I don't think it would work in real life.
Okay, sure, good to know. Because I tried it the other day, it didn't work.
I know. I was checking out your TikTok. I had to see it yet, but you
Yeah,
could also issue. You could always issue a challenge and see, but I don't think it would go very far.
yeah, and probably illegal.
Yeah,
Like they wouldn't get very far because they would be caught, I think.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying, oh, there was some other sort of challenge related to the film that was like, it was more about like getting somewhere in the dark. But I
Oh
think
yeah.
all of those things we would be liable for, because people would definitely, get banged up. I wouldn't recommend any of it.
Send it to your social team and then they'll just be like, okay, like whatever you guys do, this is performed by professionals in a professional setting.
Right.
Cover your
If you
asses.
had like a lot of helmets and pads, and I mean, yeah.
Exactly. Now, I'd also love to ask about Kim Coates. What was it like working with him for the film?
Um, it's pure joy. Kim Coates is a legend for a reason, and I think he's the real deal. When you get a chance to work with somebody like that, I think the whole team recognized that he was extraordinarily generous and helped us level up our game, and um, you know he made the film better, made the crew better, and uh, really brought a lot of energy and experience and fun to the show.
Okay.
We were worried at some point, because we did get shut down because of the pandemic, and he is a busy guy for a good reason, but he was very generous and made sure to hold that space for us, and came out and was a fantastic collaborator. He's great, and I think he brings a lot to the film, and it's such a wonderful scene, a couple of wonderful scenes. But you will know what I'm talking about when I say, the scene, just for him, to a couple moments where he just really gets to breathe, and
Mhm.
really gets to sort of like uh, bring a lot of energy and fun and thrills to the end of the film. So we were very honored to have him.
Okay, awesome. Now we hear him for much of the film, and then we actually see him physically. Can you just like introductions are everything? So can you talk about like filming an introduction like that, how we like just follow him from the car and like don't see his face until like a couple beats later. Can you just, how important is that for your team to nail that
Oh,
introduction?
It's really delicious. I think when you get a chance to have a character like that who's got such a long introduction in a way, and that we do hear him for much of the film, and we do get this sense of him, and then he sort of shows up as sort of the ultimate villain. um it was really fun to design that sequence and to really kind of get a sense of like setting the table for that final meal. And I think it really gets the audience excited to see what's happening, and then to have him just come in and deliver at the end of that, and just to be able to see that wonderful sort of final dance between him and Sophie is uh, pure joy. And in the language of thrillers and of this sort of this invasion that's happening, to have this kind of final sort of showdown was just so much fun to be able to design that and have him involved in that conversation, and then to try to kind of put a little bit of a fresh twist on some of the things that we've seen was great. It was great.
Awesome. Now, I think I have time for one or two more. I'll depending. Now, I'll just get to at least this one. Do you know of any like what were some of your visual inspirations for the film? And also, were there any video game inspirations, obviously, with the character of Kelly?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't say any one or two specifically, but we certainly went to the well. For the thriller genre, there's a rich history there, and um, we went through a lot of references and really got to dive in deep, especially since the film takes place at night. So our directors of photography, Jordan Oram and Jackson Perel, we had so much fun kind of designing the look of the film as it evolved through the night as well, because we didn't want it to just have sort of one flavor. We wanted it to continue to evolve and different things to happen without giving too much away, whether it's with some of the bad guys or in the different nooks and crannies of the house. We wanted to be able to evolve all of that. So we pulled from a number of different places. And then, of course, there's this element of sort of the first person shooter in that, Kelly's kind of looking at her screen and guiding Sophie through the house. But also on top of that, and on top of her sort of having that language and knowing this about her character, how do you show that, but how also do you show that the evolution of their relationship and the trust and the teamwork around them, and her as a real character also kind of struggling with what she's struggling with on the other side of that call. That's sort of where we tried to push it into that kind of language.
Okay, awesome. And just my last one here, just for you as a director, now that you've kind of have a home invasion film under your belt, is there a subgenre or genre that you would really like to work in, like a dream project?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think I'm one of those people that thinks that all films are genre films, and because there's always kind of a reference to another thing going on, because I'm such a film fan, and I think that there's a lot of referencing going on when we're telling cinematic stories. But I would love to do something that is a little bit surreal, and I've really enjoyed sort of the adventurous side of this. So maybe a surreal adventure film.
Okay, like David Lynch in a way, or maybe a bit away from him?
A bit of Lynch and maybe a bit of Del Toro.
Okay, I dig it. Hopefully people give you the funding for it. Something like it, right?
I'll send you a link to the Indiegogo later on today. No, just
already in the works. I can see the gears turning.
I'm working on a little something.
Okay.
Early stages, but I got a little something I'm working on.
Excited either way. Cool. So thank you so much, Randall, for chatting with me about C4 Me.
Cheers. Thanks. Nice to chat with you again.